Alright, so today we're going to be talking about plausible deniability. Political Dictionary defines plausible deniability as the ability to deny any involvement in illegal or unethical activities, because there is no clear evidence to prove involvement. The lack of evidence makes the denial credible or plausible. The use of the tactic implies forethought, such as intentionally setting up the conditions to plausibly avoid responsibility for one's future actions. This is a way for people to get away with certain actions since they don't have to take full responsibility. It is used as a sort of cover for any crime that a person may commit. Leffen has attacked several different people over the course of his career, but he's able to get away with these attacks because every situation Leffen is in gives him some sort of deniability. First, we need to understand why Leffen goes after people in our community in the first place. He has stated in an interview that he first started drumming up beef with Chillin as a funny way to build his platform as the villain of the Smash community.
So the whole thing started, I think, with obviously I'm trying to go full time, and Chillin dude was sponsored, and to me he was just sponsored because he was in the documentary, right? And to me, I was just well, I deserve the sponsor. So it was both a little bit of a jealousy, but also I know I can use this angle to stir things up and make my own brand, because obviously sponsors are gonna see what I write about their things and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Now this drama with Chillin wasn't anything major, but it does show Leffen's motivations for starting drama with other people. He wants to use it as a publicity stunt to gain a larger following. Over time, Leffen built his platform higher and higher until now he is one of the largest influences in the community. His fan base will usually blindly reciprocate his opinions simply because they trust Leffen. Now we all know about, let me check my notes, the L-canceling political con that Leffen made against hacks. I actually disagree with hacks on that point. However, what I took away from that situation is how willing people were to blindly follow Leffen's opinions even when he has no clue what he's talking about. Leffen was speaking in objective terms when saying that hard press was better than light press, yet didn't actually know that hard pressing the L or R button would lock you out of tech. Again, the problem here isn't the actual information about L canceling, it's the fact that people took Leffen's words solely because it was Leffen, while Leffen didn't even know what he was talking about. This is a key aspect to how Leffen is able to enact his attacks against other people in the community. His influence has become a dangerous weapon when used irresponsibly. Quick thought experiment. Let's say you walk into the woods and you see a campfire burning out of control. Let's say you decide, for whatever reason, to throw gasoline onto the fire to make it bigger. Now, are you responsible for burning down the forest? If you answered no, you are correct, according to the Smash community. Hungrybox is a top Melee player and is one of the greatest players to ever play the game. In late 2017, he began his run as the undisputed best player in the world, where he would dominate most tournaments over the next 2 years or so. However, many people have had negative experiences with HBox over his career. Leffen actually had a ton of respect for HBox as a player around this time, but after HBox won the Big House 7, the community's opinion of HBox was starting to shift south. This was due to the fact that he was starting to dominate every tournament while also playing a character that was considered boring and lame by many. Combined with the fact that there were legitimate reasons to not like HBox as a person, this paved the way for Leffen to jump on the bandwagon and attack HBox to boost his status. After the Big House 7, this is what Leffen had to say about HBox.
A few moments where I just lacked focus, and in those moments it just died every time, especially against Hungrybox. I played well overall, but then during edge cards and when he just approached me with pound, I would just let up for a second and then he destroys you. He's really amazing at noticing your weak points and just instantly killing you for it.
Yeah, he's real. Dude's reactions are crazy.
Yeah.
It's there was one moment you just did a spot dodge or something, or an air dodge, and he just snapped. Just I'm damn, dude, who does that?
Yeah.
Later that month, Leffen would do a full 180 and start aggressively attacking Hungrybox. He spread rumors, lies, insults, and even blackmail, all in an attempt to frame HBox as a terrible human being. He made several tweets denouncing HBox at every opportunity, and even uploaded a video called One of the Many Reasons to Dislike HBox, where Leffen's friend Snowy detailed a negative experience he had with HBox.
There's two kinds of people in this world, HBox fans and people who met him.
Yeah, the first time I met him, I asked him for a best of $5 puff ditto, and when he found out that I was a puff, he went his secondaries, he took 2 games, and then after the second game he was like, alright, I don't want to keep playing, and he takes my money, he walks away, and I was wearing the HBox shirt that he made, the one with the cube.
No!
Yeah. he says to me, "Nice shirt," and he leaves. It was.
Are you? No, there's no way.
Also, I find it ironic how Leffen can make a video calling HBox a terrible person, but the second Haxx called Leffen's character into question, he gets banned for targeted harassment. It's almost as if there's a double standard. After Genesis 5, only a few months after the Big House 7, Leffen refused to shake hands with HBox after losing, to show that HBox isn't worth respecting. This anti-HBox campaign began to grow larger and larger every time HBox won a tournament. It almost turned HBox into the biggest villain in the Smash community, literally for no reason. The crowds were becoming more and more hostile towards HBox, and the commentators were even casually dropping lines like these.
And tell me about the set history between these two, Scar.
So Leffen versus HBox has actually been, they have had a long rivalry, and it's gotten a bit personal at times.
It has
These
gotten
guys
a
do
little
not
bit
like each
personal.
other. They don't
Leffen-
kind of oil and water a little bit.
Leffen frequently tweets about, you know, such and such, like, I can't believe this terrible human being. He doesn't say terrible, you know, player. He says terrible human being.
Yeah, it's gotten to that level.
It's gotten to that level. Is killing the game that I love, you know, Leffen's maybe a little bit melodramatic about it, but
Maybe
you know,
a little, but that's what we like about him.
Yeah.
This hate storm only got worse as time progressed until HBox finally took to Twitter to let out his frustrations about the way the community had treated him. While there were legitimate things to criticize HBox for, people were blasting him for the smallest things, and when thousands of people are doing this, it's extremely mentally taxing. Leffen, in response, said this.
Got no sympathy for HBox, no one was cheering against him, but even then, maybe he would have more support if he hadn't been consistently awful in person to 99% of the community. Maybe try just once to not play the victim when you are the one to blame.
Nobody called his bluff. Leffen is more than willing to admit that he believes HBox deserved all the harassment he received. Now we arrive at Genesis 6, where HBox would again win the tournament, this time over Axe. Because of this win, a narrative was brewing in the community that Jigglypuff was killing the game, even though there was evidence to the contrary.
In terms of viewership, I don't think that Puff is killing Melee at all. Like, if you guys saw the view count for Melee just this past weekend at Genesis, yeah, so if people are trying to make the argument that Puff is killing viewership, they need to find a different argument because that doesn't work.
Leffen used this narrative to post a video questioning whether Puff should be banned or not. So now for around a year and a half, HBox has been thoroughly bullied and harassed by the entire community over trivial things. How could it possibly get any worse?
Who threw this at me? Fuck off, dude. Fuck you. Why would you throw something? Right at my fucking face. You know how hard I work on here?
While it is true that Leffen didn't in any way, shape, or form tell anyone to throw a crab, I honestly don't care. If you contribute to a movement as much as Leffen did, and that movement then leads to a certain action, you are still partly responsible for that action. Leffen contributed to the anti-HBox movement the most out of anyone else in the community, and it's not even close. He created so many false narratives about HBox as if he was some deplorable human being who was killing the community by his very presence. It's actually ridiculous how many people will try to absolve him of all criticism simply because he didn't start the hate train. No, Leffen did not tell anyone to throw a crab at HBox, but he is one of the main reasons that the HBox hate movement escalated to that point. But because he didn't explicitly say to throw the crab, and because he wasn't the first person to start the HBox hate movement, he gets a pass, aka plausible deniability. I want to preface this by saying that Zero deserved to be cancelled for what he did. For anyone who doesn't know, because a lot of people don't actually know why Zero should be cancelled, Zero has admitted to sexting a 14-year-old girl named Katie when he was 19. I'm obviously not going to show the messages, but I will leave a link down in the description below to Katie's story. I can't emphasize this enough. I do not support Zero in any way, and my intention with this section is not to exonerate him of his actions. This section is strictly intended to indict Leffen and Jisoo as liars who exploited the Me Too movement for their own gain. While while Zero was guilty of sexual misconduct, none of the allegations made by these two were legitimate, only Katie's. Okay, we got that? Great. Now I'm gonna use another metaphor to describe Leffen's actions during the Me Too movement. He essentially donated to charity using Monopoly money. What I mean is that he received credit and positive publicity for speaking on the Me Too movement despite his involvement being questionable. Let's go over how Leffen used the situation for his own gain. First, he spoke to Jisoo in private about her allegations against Zero. I have no clue what they said in this meeting. All I know is that it resulted in Jisoo making very suspect allegations claiming that Zero showed her Craigslist sex worker ads when she was 15. On top of this, Jisoo would later make another allegation against Zero. However, this one is confirmed to be false by Jisoo, the alleged victim Vanessa, and 2 Google searches. Like, this story was so bogus and it was obvious. The problem here is that Jisoo didn't ask permission to release this story, so it only leads us to one conclusion. Jisoo made up the story herself and lied. This, along with her lies about Sky Williams, hurt her credibility when it comes to her first story as well, which was already suspect. Because people initially didn't believe Jisoo's allegations, Leffen tried to make a twitlonger corroborating Jisoo's story. In the twitlonger, Leffen claims that there was a situation where Zero was looking at hentai with other players at Apex 2013, and if this was true, it wouldn't make it impossible for Zero to show Jisoo's sex ads on the big screen in a crowded room. However, the people involved claim that Leffen was wrong about the situation and that they never shared hentai with Zero, only waifus. Jesus, y'all are weird. Also, Leffen shared another story about Zero that was false, where Leffen claims Zero sent a minor hentai in his Discord server without confirming their age. However, the person was not a minor at the time and literally begged Zero to send them the hentai. So the only thing Zero was guilty of in that case was being irresponsible. Every story against Zero that Jisoo and Leffen pushed was either fake or highly suspect, yet somehow they were able to get away with lying by using plausible deniability. Because Zero was actually guilty of one of the crimes, Jisoo and Leffen were able to convince the public that Zero was guilty of all the crimes when in reality, the charges that they pushed were false. I understand that there is no conclusive evidence proving that Jisoo and Leffen conspired to cancel Zero, but at what point does this stop becoming a bunch of honest mistakes and coincidences and starts becoming a pattern of behavior? Once again, this is not meant to exonerate Zero in any way, only to indict Jisoo and Leffen as corrupt liars. Honestly, the only person I feel bad for in this situation is Katie, who is the only true victim. I'll briefly cover M2K since he wants to be left out of this situation, but in short, Leffen helped spread a false rumor about M2K, and while Leffen may or may not have known that the rumor was false, he could have just gone to Mewtwo King directly to ask him about it rather than publicly commenting on it. Leffen has since apologized for this, and both parties confirmed this publicly, but honestly, I don't know if Leffen apologized because he was actually sorry or because he got called out over it. This case is another example of plausible deniability. Because Leffen didn't make the allegations, he isn't responsible for them. But if you add the context that Leffen and M2K are friends who can contact each other and at any point discuss anything, then these generally innocuous messages may seem more malicious. Either way, I'm glad M2K is happy and has forgiven Leffen for what happened last year. Leffen has made several attacks against different people to, at best, grow his own brand and at worst, eliminate his competitors. And he has done this stuff right under all of our noses. I remember I thought Leffen had grown as a person for doing the right thing during the Me Too movement, only to now learn that his involvement was fraudulent. He's crafted a hero narrative for himself where he slays the villains of the community, but besides Zero, these people were only villains because Leffen said so. Hax, Hungrybox, even Salem to an extent have all been subjected to this reign of terror. It's no secret why other gaming communities hate Leffen, but we just accept it as normal. To end the video, I'm gonna say this. This is not normal. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.